Welcome to the Colorado Real Estate Leaders Podcast, brought to you by Trailstone Insurance Group, bringing you interviews with Colorado's best real estate and mortgage professionals, empowering you to understand the current trends in the housing market so you can make the American dream your reality. Enjoy today's episode.
Well, it's a great day in Colorado, and welcome to the Colorado Real Estate Leaders Podcast. Today, we have with us Brenda Flick, who's the owner and managing broker with RealPro Real Estate Professionals. Brenda, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Hey, so I'm excited about your way that you do business. You do it in a really unique way, and I want to learn about that. But before we get into some of those details, it's always fun and interesting to learn how people got into the job and the industry that they're in. So with real estate, that's always, really fun to see what your background was. So what got you into real estate back when you started your business?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I was working in an office for another company, and it always been kind of one of those things that was on my mind because you kind of gravitate towards what you like to do. Numbers, contracts, negotiations, stuff like that was something I was kind of already participating in. But then I met my husband, and he had a construction company. So the next thing I knew, I was standing in Orange on the side of the road holding a shovel, wondering how the heck did I get here? And even how do I get out of here? So
yeah, more importantly.
So that did last for a couple of years until, he was offered to sell out to another company. And I thought that was a tremendous blessing and allowed me to pursue my interest in real estate. And I try not to ever wear orange again. That's just not my color anymore.
Yeah, or spinning signs or arrows and come here. And, if that needs to be done, we can find some college students that are willing to do that kind of thing.
There you go. Those days are gone.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about your company. And I know that you've got a team working with you. So what is your approach to working with your clients?
Well, my husband and myself are both licensed realtors. So I work with the negotiations and the contracts, and he is kind of the legs of the operation where he's out doing the showings. This is a market and has been a market for a long time where it's hard for one person to accomplish it all. If I've got a client standing in a house saying, this is it, I want to write on it, I'm on the other end on a computer having their offer ready to go by the time they can get to a computer to sign. Wow. So it just gives us the ability to move quicker and then be available for our clients. If one party's busy, the other party's normally available. So it's just kind of how we work. And then we have assistants that do not ever work with our clients because we want them working directly with us. But if we need help, then we have assistants on the back end to, give us that needed extra that we need. So that's kind of how we operate.
Makes total sense. And when you can do what you're really good at and your, highest and best use of your abilities and the way you explained it there, I'm putting myself in the position of that home buyer going, you know what? Well, by the time we get back to the office and then we start the paperwork of writing this up and then we submit it, it might have been snatched out from underneath of you. So you're able to provide quick speed to your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And not get them lost with working with other transaction brokers or assistants. We're kind of hands-on with everything in that regard so that they're not passed from person to person.
That's a big piece. It's wonderful to have your team for your support that you can go to have some paperwork done, but you and your husband are the key members that they're communicating with. And that helps you develop that rapport and relationship, because I would suspect that you would want to build a long-term relationship and you want them thinking of you, not getting confused with the half a dozen people that we're emailing or calling or working with.
Correct. And it's always important to use what each person is best at. My husband was a contractor for a long time, so he will, spot those structural issues and stuff that might be there that I may not see. So, we just have learned to, after 22 years of doing this, I've really learned how to play off of each other's strengths.
Yes. That is excellent. So let's talk a little bit about your unique 0% listing fee program, because as we know in the industry, there's a couple realtor competitors, or 9 or 20 or a million that, it seems like you've got a lot of competitors, so you have to stand out. well, a 0% listing fee is really unique, and that does stand out.
It is and has been unique for the last 22 years that we've been doing it. I haven't seen any others doing that or promoting it. And we kind of came by it out of another strange story. I was working with Remax at the time, and I was in the top 3% of my office. And it was that transition stage where we went from the black and white books that came out with one picture every 2 weeks that you were waiting for to everything being posted on the internet. Right. And it was just that change of, hey guys, things are changing. People can get on the internet and see this for themselves. They're not needing you to show up with your crystal ball. And I had a problem with trying to justify exactly how much commission that we were charging. And so anytime I would give my clients a break, it didn't set well with the company that I was working for. And I came home to my husband one day and said, hey, I would rather work for free than, go through what I just went through today with, getting in trouble for what I was doing. And my husband, being the kind guy he is, said, okay, go for it. And that's kind of how we started coming up with our formula that honestly, most agents do 2 transactions and will be paid for 2 transactions, which is just an enormous amount of money that we felt wasn't really justifiable. And that's just our thinking. But that's how we came up with it. If we help them purchase their next home, the commission that we make from that justifies selling their home and covers the expense of that. And so that's how we formulated that.
Potentially, you're able to do that, which, like you said, not many other real estate agents do that. But it's the market we're in. Because if we were in small townville and houses were selling for $50,000, as an example, you might not have the luxury of giving up a portion of your commission to do that. So we're in a market where that allows you to do it. But most of the time, other real estate agents are going, "Hey, here's what it is, and we're going to do it this way." You are actually taking money out of your potential pocket to do this by doing the 0% listing when you're helping them buy the other property. Because if I'm understanding correctly, when you help someone buy the other property, then you're going to get the 2.8% or whatever it is. And that doesn't come out of your client's pocket. That comes out of then the other seller's pocket. So everybody wins.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. And, when we started this back in 2003, our housing prices were lower, but it was a great program at that time, and even more of a better program at this time. Yeah,
exactly. So what percentage of your clients that you work with are selling their house and going and moving and getting another one? Because if they don't have a house to buy, then the program changes a little bit, but it's still a really unique program, right?
Correct. If they're not buying, then we just charge a 1% fee. And probably the percentage, it kind of shifts from year to year, time of the year. Right now, I would say it's probably 50-50 with sellers and buyers.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we're kind of seeing is people that are selling aren't necessarily always buying in state, but they're moving out of state. Sure. So it kind of changes according to the dynamics.
Yep.
And it's always best to sell in the early part of the year when you've got those bidding wars going on. We've, for 10 years, we've been in the middle of all of that. And it's kind of fun. So I love getting more for my clients. I had one house 2 years ago that I only had 3 offers come in, but we did get $160,000 over list price. And
wow.
He's a pretty happy person.
Sure.
I should think so.
Yeah.
Wow. So I'm looking at your website where it says if you're not purchasing another home, you have a 1% program, like you mentioned, which is amazing. But then there's the other aspect here that says we also offer a 50% refund of the program should you purchase another home in Colorado at a later date. That's amazing.
Correct. Because sometimes things happen with people. We don't want to lock them in to absolutely having to buy with us again. So we offer that refund program on any of our contracts. But sometimes, the right home doesn't come up and they just decide, we're going to rent until we see what the market's doing or we know what our situation is going to end up being. And if we've sold their house and within the next 6 months they end up buying again, we still refund all of it. After 6 months, then yes, for any length of time, 50%. We do the 50% back.
Yeah, that's when you can look at, ethics and character. You can tell a whole lot about someone when you hear things like that, their character. And I think that really just shows that you are giving and serving and providing just high value to your clients. And we probably don't have time on this conversation to go into, all the many other ways that are, even smaller, but I can just tell that the way you work with your clients is just so much above board. And there's probably things that they come to find out throughout the relationship and the transaction. It's like, we would have had no clue to ask that question, but you're bringing it to our attention, and it saved us this, and it kept us from this hassle. And that comes from your 20 plus years of experience in the industry.
It does. I just approach each transaction like, what would you do if this was your house? If this was my transaction, how would I want it to go? And that's how we handle it.
So let's say that someone is considering selling the home, and there's a lot of reasons that you would need to sell your home for whatever the reason is. What are the kind of additional services that you provide, in addition to this program? So that's a nice money. That's a wonderful, revenue topic to consider. But what about other services that you provide to make sure that their house sells as fast as possible and as high as possible?
Gotcha. Well, we are full service, even though we're discount. So all of the services that I learned to provide early in my career have carried over. What's real important is the pictures. So we provide high definition pictures. The photo shoot probably takes an hour and a half to 2 hours. It takes 6 hours then to get those photos put together in the way that we want them to look. Then we also do drone 4K definition pictures.
Nice.
There's a lot of properties that it's not enough to see the house, but you want to see the area. Why is it that I want to move to this area? What is the draw there? So we really try to capitalize on that too. And there's just sometimes certain atmospheres and aspects of a property that make it unique or make it stand out. So having your color brochures and the information that people are looking for, and having that always readily available. We also do big blasts of internet advertising. So there's an IDX system where you can put your listing on every agent's website and every real estate office website that is a party to that IDX. And that's something that we make sure to do. We're not interested in promoting ourselves as much as we need to promote that house and have it out there anywhere people are looking. So even if you've got somebody from RE/MAX looking at it and finding it on the RE/MAX website, it doesn't really matter to them whose sign is in the yard when they get there. It matters to us if they're finding the properties.
Yeah. So do you guys also do open houses?
We can. We don't always do open houses, especially in this time of COVID. We did kind of shut that down because of those legalities and stuff. And I've always liked to have the feedback and have, okay, I know this agent showed it to this client and I can talk to that agent in person and then be accountable to my client. Before I got into real estate, I had a home to sell on the Western Slope and my agent was charging me 7%. I don't know of any showings that I had. I never received feedback. She didn't get the home sold. And I ended up getting my license and selling the home myself. And so that kind of was ingrained in my mind. What would you have done different? And what kind of information should I have received on the other end? So that's another reason that I like to have the personal showing so that I have that. I make sure to let my clients know the showings that they've had, the feedback that they got. We even put out a report off of our virtual tour every week that lets them know exactly how many viewings that they got on their virtual tour. And it also does demographics from where those came from. So we like to be really accountable so they're not wondering, like I was wondering, what is my agent doing?
Yeah, sometimes it seems to be a mystery if you don't see anything and you don't see any action on the home. We're here in early August of 2022. Are you seeing changes in inventory levels?
Yes, I am. First off, I'm one of those agents that says this has been a trend that's been going on for almost a decade, where January, February, March, April are those real busy months where you see the bidding wars because we have low inventory. And then May this year, we had 7,400 homes hit the market. That starts getting us the inventory that we need, and we start seeing those bidding wars slowing down, etc. Well, this year, you also have the increase in the interest rate. And 6 months after an interest rate goes up, it always has a big effect on the industry, in my opinion. So we've kind of got a combination of that. I've noticed this year, just a big swing kind of in the upper end homes. I'm seeing more of those come off last month than I had seen in quite a long time. So people deciding if I can't get the price I wanted, we're going to wait. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting year, that's for sure.
One thing you were mentioning, you said the word discount, and people, I think, would hear the word discount and go, oh, watered down services, and we're going to get the minimal. But then you mentioned IDX and MLS and drones and photos and virtual open house or virtual tours. And I'm going, that sounds full featured, not discount. So I just really am hearing some really powerful benefits you bring to your sellers.
Yeah, correct. It kind of still goes back to the how would I want it handled if it's my property.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. I make a joke, it's great that I'm silly enough to work for free, but what good's that going to do you if I don't provide the services and don't get your home out there? So after I had left the big company that I worked for and I started my own company, at that time, like I mentioned, it was in the top 3% of my office, but I was a little concerned, because you walk away from a brand name and you start your own brand, and there's always that transition. And within the first year, by the end of the first year, I was up to the top 5%, but I was top 5% of all of Denver Metro and the foothills. Wow. So that just kind of showed me that we have a program that works while saving our clients money. It's, we do probably more volume than, you do more volume. You're not trying to make so much money off of each individual person. Mm-hmm. I don't have time to go golfing, but I still wanted to make sure that the quality of services were what I would expect myself and what is required, to sell a home in this market.
Yes. Now we've been talking about selling and the sellers, but I know you said you're full service. So do you also work with buyers that need to buy a home?
We do, actually. We do work with buyers, and we do offer, I do ads on Craigslist and stuff where we put out there, mention this ad and receive $1,000 rebate at closing. So we work with buyers and try to help them out with their closing costs as well.
That's awesome.
And what about too that we give? I was going to say I might add to there that we have this great search program for them that we set them up so they got their finger on the pulse the moment anything new hits the market and stuff. We make sure they really have all the information that they need.
Yeah, and I think when we're talking about our back pocket and our wallet and our money, when you work with a buyer, it does not cost the buyer a dime for your services because the seller is paying the commission. So all of these services with the notifications and the searches and things, that is just full service for the buyer, and that's really good to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, it sure is. Sure is. And we give them the same kind of service that we give our sellers.
Yeah. Do you find that you work with specific types of clients like investors as well as people that need to buy? Is that a market that you're able to assist in as well?
We are. It's kind of funny. It's kind of evenly divided between first-time buyers, investors, and then, your higher end that understand how much money we're saving them. Yeah. So I don't have one area that I would say we work with more than others. It's kind of an even flow. So yeah, we love working with them. It seems like
one thing leads to another because, if you are working with the buyer, well, one day they need to become a seller. So now they need to sell their home and buy the next home. And then maybe they, get some knowledge and education and they go, well, hey, now let's buy an investment property. So when you develop that long-term relationship and rapport, it just opens up the opportunity to serve them in all kinds of different ways over the years.
It does. And overall, these last 22 years, I have so many people that, we started out helping them. Well, one of my good friends now, I started out helping her, and I think we helped her purchase about 3 properties. And now the next generation, we're helping her children and stuff. So yeah, those referrals, those long-term referrals have been great.
I mean, when you have someone that now works with the next generation, parents and kids, that right there can be your whole marketing campaign. I treat my clients so well that I now have begun working with their children as well. That just speaks volumes.
I hadn't thought of that. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're right. But it kind of does, I mean, it's like if I didn't treat mom and dad right, then certainly they're not going to tell their kids to come see me. So that rapport and relationship and trust has to be there for that to happen. So that's just wonderful. Well, Brenda, I just think it's been so wonderful learning about how you do business. It's just spectacular. If someone is interested in reaching out to you to connect and learn some more about your help with their property, what's the best way they can reach out and learn more and then also connect with you?
My personal cell phone. I answer the phones myself, and that number is 303-775-3827.
Excellent. And I will also put the website, realproteam.com, into the show notes as well, so people can click on that and visit your website. So we really appreciate you coming on today. It was a real pleasure talking with you and learning about how you do your business.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me to. It was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Colorado Real Estate Leaders Podcast, brought to you by Trailstone Insurance Group. To learn more about the topics mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.coloradorealestateleaders.com.